Another beautiful day to do some fork seal changes. Hello my friends, and welcome to Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. Today we're going to be doing a fork seal change on this Suzuki DRZ250. I think this is a 2001 model. I only made this a few years in the States, but these are cartridge forks. They were also made on the 1997, 1998, 1999 DR350, and a lot of people like to put these on their DR650. Kind of similar to the original forks on the DR350, except for those were damper rod and these are cartridge. These are a lot better forks, and they have adjustability, compression and rebound damping. Anyway, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the wheel off. I'll get the brake off of here and I'll pull the fork leg off. It's all pretty simple stuff. The biggest tip I can give you before removing the fork is to loosen the top cap. So what I like to do is I loosen this upper clamp bolt and then break this loose before you get this out. Just makes it easier. All right, well, I appreciate the views on the video. Make sure, besides just watching the video, that you also have a copy of a manual, because I'm not going to go over every single step. I'll try to make it helpful, but in case I miss something, the manual is there. All right, get you to stand here. Now, since I've already loosened this cap, it should be pretty easy to get it off. There you go. That might be a little bit better. These are 24 millimeter. And it is going to be under a little bit of spring tension. Actually, it shouldn't be under any spring tension right now. The bike is off the ground. So loosen it until it pops up. We're going to slide this down a little bit. There we go. And now, to remove this cap, let me slide you in a little bit, maybe. See if we can zoom in. Come here. You have to hold this damper rod, or whatever. I might get some of the nomenclature wrong as well. This rod down here, you have to hold that and turn the cap. So I'm going to see if I can get a small wrench in there and hold that. Okay, it's a 14 millimeter on that. And then you spin the cap off. And when we do this, this rod is going to slide down into here. Now in the past, what I've done to get these back on sometimes can be a pain. So I'll stick another smaller wrench underneath here. We'll do that when we reassemble. I'm just going to stick that there so that rod doesn't slide down right now. There we go. So, there we go. And that's for the preload adjustment here on the top, or the damping adjustment. All right, now we're going to pull the spring out of here and we're going to drain it. So I've got my drain pan sitting right here. And we'll just dump that out. Fluid actually doesn't look too bad in this one. Sometimes they look pretty dark and awful. And you can just cycle it through. And what I like to do is hang it from the vise I have right up above here and let it drip drain for a while. Now that we've got her mostly drained, we can remove our dust cap here. I've already kind of started it. These are a little different than a lot of them that I see. It's kind of got like a metal ring around it. And then, let's see if I can get you inside of here. Inside of here, there's a little spring clip. It's not going to be easy to get you in here and do this at the same time. We'll see if I can do it though. There it is. And you should be able to just pry that out with with a small flat tip screwdriver. There you go, see that? Shazam. Okay. And now we should be able to use the fork piston here as kind of a slide hammer to pull our seal out. Boom. All right. There's our seal and our fork bushing. At this point, you could just slide this fork seal off and replace it, clean everything up, and refill it with fluid. I want to disassemble this thing a little bit more so that we can clean it completely. So, like right now, you can't get this fork piston out. So in order to do that, you have to remove this adjuster on the bottom. Looks like that. And now the whole thing will come out like that. So now we can clean everything up. So I'm gonna get everything cleaned up. You can inspect your bushings, replace those if needed. These don't look too terrible. It's never a bad idea to replace them though. And then once I get this all cleaned up, we'll reassemble and install a new fork seal. I get everything cleaned up, put back together. I like to leave the old fork seal on here, just in case you get a little confused. You can always use it as a reference as to how to put the new one on. Now before you get the fork seal in, there's a bushing and a washer inside of here. There's the washer, the bushing is in there. That bushing has to slide into a sleeve, a little recessed cutout in here. So you got to make sure you get that all the way in, otherwise your fork seal won't go in. Now, you get your new fork seals, you can put a little bit of oil on them. I got a little bit of white lithium grease here, or whatever it is, white lithium, whatever. I'll just put a little bit on there. Not as easy to do one-handed as I'd hoped. Okay, and you can see that side and that side. So, like I said, we'll use this one as a reference, even though I already know how it's supposed to go. There you go, there's the bottom. Looks like that. Slide that very carefully over the top of here. You can also put like a rubber glove over the top of this or some tape, because it's very easy to cut these if you're not careful installing them. Now I push the fork seal down. It's level with the top of the fork leg here. Now I'm using a fork seal driver. It's a nice little tool you can buy. It's not that expensive. I have also, in the past, just used the old fork seal, put it on top, and then you can kind of gently tap around that to push the new one in. You can also use like a piece of PVC pipe with a cut in it and kind of tap that down. But if you're going to do the fork seals more than once or twice in your life, one of these seal drivers is really nice. Man, caught it. Okay, and then we'll put that bad boy back in there. You should be just about able to push that in by hand, and then using the screwdriver, pop it down in there, and you'll know you have your fork seal driven in enough if that thing seats in there. And this appears to have seated in there. Now for the new dust seal. A lot of times those just pop in just like that. Okay, now we need to get the spring in here and the rest of the parts hooked up and fill this thing. So for the first step of filling this up, you get some fork oil, This says SS05. We're using SAE5, and we're supposed to add 495 milliliters and then cycle the fork. So basically we're going to fill it and then move this in and out, which kind of pump some fluid into the internal workings, the cartridge and such. And then we're supposed to use a fork oil level special tool here to set it at 144 millimeters. So I'm going to fill it up with the 495, and then I'll show you an easy way to make a tool like that. Okay, so make sure you got the fork vertical and it's compressed, and the spring is not installed, 144 millimeters. So I have my millimeter tape measure, I have a syringe, a piece of hose, and a hose clamp, and we have set it to 144 millimeters. And all you do is you put this in until the hose clamp is sitting on the top here, and then you just draw on the syringe. If it's drawing out fluid, it's overfilled. If it's not drawing out fluid, you just add a little bit until it's drawing out fluid, and then once it stops, then you're at 144 millimeters from the top. So I'm going to do that. Once again, a good reason to have a manual. Install the fork spring. The closed pitched end of the spring should position to the bottom. So if you took this out and you didn't pay attention, got to make sure you put it in correctly. So we're going to put that in. We're going to get this installed. This is where getting that rod out of there and held up is going to be a little bit tricky, and that's where I was showing you with the little bit smaller wrench underneath it. So I'm going to try to get this kind of set up and show you how that works. Okay, here's the trick I do to make this a little bit easier on myself. So I'll pull that rod out and quickly drop the spring on it and try to get a smaller wrench underneath the head of that. And then you can turn the spring and it works just like a screw, and it brings this thing up to the top. I'm sure they sell a fancy tool to do this, but sometimes a little bit of ingenuity will prevent you from having to buy a tool that you're not going to use more than once or twice in your life. There you go. Now we got it up there. We can install our top cap here and get it started. See that? Hopefully you can see it. I need a photographer here. There we go. And now we can install the top cap. Let's tighten that down, and we will tighten it all the way once it's back into the fork, the top clamp of the motorcycle. And the second fork leg is exact same as the first. Put it all back together. Make sure you torque everything down as per the manual. Install your wheel and go ride and enjoy a non-leaky fork, which is always good because you don't want all that oil getting down there on that brake. Easy peasy. All right, if you're liking my content, give me a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and if you're not already a subscriber, why don't you go ahead and do so? That'd be awesome. Thank you very much for watching. Get out there and find your adventure. Adios.